We're talking about how right-wing Indian influencers are taking advantage of the rise of anti-Muslim rhetoric in the UK. Today we're focusing on Devansh Thakur and Harman Singh Kapoor. Devansh runs a Facebook page from Delhi, which is consistent with the transparency on his page. So Devansh focuses on mainly anti-Muslim and anti-migrant stories. This one actually seems to be ripped from Twitter. This was posted at 8:32 p.m. and this was posted at 2:55 p.m. with the exact same copy and the same picture used for this one as with this one. This is actually pretty common when it comes to informal journalism circles where essentially people can just make money from sharing tweets and stuff and then they get paid for all the reactions, the comments, etc. He's focusing on posting anti-Muslim content since that does well on Facebook right now, because some of it does have factual basis, so you did have thousands gather for a mass Eid prayer, but as you can see, the way he covers it is the following: a decades-old tradition that ballooned with unchecked mass migration, calling it sky-high birth rates in non-assimilating communities, turning one's industrial heartland into an open-air mosque where the adhan echoes louder than Big Ben outed in these parts. Notice how he's talking about Big Ben outed in these parts like you've ever been to the UK. Devansh, you live in India. A comedy post like Sana hospitalized with a sustained and painful erection as he's informed of tens of thousands of fighting aged men fleeing Iran with the aim of reaching the UK. And you can see the list goes on. Again, this is all 1 hour, 55 minutes ago, 42 minutes ago, 41 minutes ago, 1 hour ago, 10 hours ago, 10 hours ago. It's also worth noting that this story, whilst partially true, there is absolutely no information right now that says that the perpetrator was a migrant. And he's pretty safe in putting out disinformation like this because the perpetrator here, there is no way that they're going to take the time to try to sue Devansh in Delhi when this is literally in the UK. Obviously this case is awful and Devansh is using it essentially to make as much money as he can. As you can see, it's just constant migrant does this thing. As usual, there's just very little information on his posts, always to do with a Middle Eastern country and a migrant in Europe. And of course, he does not like Sadiq Khan. And you'll see this constantly on these right-wing pages. This takes us to Harman Singh Kapoor, who has become a right-wing influencer in the UK. Now, Devansh has really taken advantage of this, posting what seems to be written by ChatGPT in many ways. Harman Kapoor stands as a bold symbol of resistance and principle in modern Britain, proudly declaring through his Rangres restaurant that he will not serve halal meat. Halal meat is meat, but Muslims can eat because it's not against their religion, haram. Normal meat is haram, and haram essentially means it's against the religion. Again, Devansh here writing about this story, saying what began as a straightforward dietary choice quickly escalated into months of reported harassment. And again, far-right activist Harman Kapoor, who was threatened by Muslims over displaying a sign saying he doesn't sell halal food, has been arrested over a social media post. He stated in this post that he would defend himself and his family against further attacks. That isn't quite true, and we're going to look at that now. Let's really go to Harman Kapoor's story. Reported by India Today on the 23rd of February, the owner of the Indian restaurant in London claims that his refusal to serve halal meat led to a targeted campaign of fake reviews and backlash, contributing to the decision to shut shop after 16 years in business. And here he is showing proudly we don't sell halal, and the restaurant reviews in question where it says, "It was my worst experience to eat here. One of the worst restaurants, never recommend." Harman claims this will over him putting out proudly we don't sell halal. This was February 2026. But when we look at his Twitter, we can see some more activism than just no halal meat in my shop. The world is waking up to the truth about grooming gangs and the cover-up surrounding them. Huge respect to Elon for using his platform. This was 3rd of January 2025. Then later 2025, I repeatedly state that it's not Asian grooming gangs, but Asian Muslim gangs. Oh look, on the 10th of May 2025, why do Muslims seek asylum in Western countries despite there being over 50 Islamic nations around the world? Muslims entered a Sikh house and did awful things to a girl. Syrian Muslims are now forcing Druze and Christians to jump up buildings. Outside a mosque, chaos erupts as Muslims knife each other in a violent brawl. This is the reality of our streets when what authorities admit the truth and act. I'm Sikh, I look similar to Muslims, but there's a difference between us. My is not chopped. I eat pork. I integrate it. That's not how you felt integrated. With English values, I respect the women and I like goat, but as dinner, not for shagging. This was in October of 2025. repeated anti-Islam statement. I have the feeling that people weren't angry just because of a sign on a restaurant. And then 1 week prior to announcing his restaurant is being closed, my appeal to parents sending their daughters for further studies in the UK. Many girls are being brainwashed by Pakistani and Bangladeshi boys and are no longer in contact with their parents. I'm investigating many cases and it's shocking, claiming that Muslim boys are brainwashing girls across the world. But of course, the main story here is proudly we don't sell halal, we don't cater inbreds, and suggesting this is the reason we have been receiving harassment. One reason Rangret restaurant in London closed was that we took a stand against selling halal products, which led to hundreds of fake reviews from Pakistanis, even though they were not my customers. This is written and I ask for banning halal products immediately. Do you agree with me? Now, for those who aren't aware, there is a large wave against halal products in the UK currently. Now, this used to be on the basis of animal rights concerns, and there are genuine reasons for that, but it's since been used by far-right politicians like Rupert Lowe, for example, who has literally called for the rounding up of entire communities, as if that's not the most Nazi thing he could possibly say. And then he posts, "I'm facing this harassment because I choose not to sell halal in my restaurant. This inbred group shouting Allahu Akbar and making gun gestures may have run an arsehole community to behave. I know you only act on the orders of Islamists, but please find your spine. I'll not submit to Islam. Fuck you." So this man finds it acceptable to make an entire platform based on anti-Muslim hate, and then has the nerve to say that it's because he chose not to sell halal in his restaurant. Where it gets worse is where he claims that he was arrested for this, when in reality he literally posts a video saying, "It is a teaching in my faith, when every option is exhausted to maintain peace, then the sword is needed to enforce it." And I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want this to get taken down on YouTube, but he quite literally draws a sword here and basically says that he is ready to kill people. And after he was arrested and made his own claims about why he was arrested, Met Police addresses the arrest. Shortly after, Kapoor was arrested by Met Police, but it shared online shows him being handcuffed and led into a police van. At around 1:30 on Saturday, officers arrested a 54-year-old man on suspicion of malicious communication after attending a restaurant in Fulham Palace Road. The arrest was in relation to a video post on social media that included references to threats to kill. Further inquiries are ongoing. The suspect has been bailed pending further inquiries. And then Kapoor's statement puts out, "All I did was protect my family, yet I was the one arrested. Instead of protecting us, the police targeted my religion, my Sikh faith, and my beliefs. This is deeply troubling." The guy literally pulls out a sword on social media and warns people he's going to kill them, and he's saying the police targeted him for his religion. This is just a snapshot of how the right wing in India are cashing in on the right wing wave in the UK. Devansh isn't even in UK, the dude is literally in India, but realistically, the amount that he'll be making on this Facebook page means that he will literally never have to work a regular job in India. Now you might say that Haman doesn't enjoy his attention. Well, clearly he does, because as the Times of India has said, Kapoor said he does not care that his business failed, as he chose to close his restaurant and will now pursue full-time activism. And well, I believe him, because now he's on the Talk TV show with Jeremy Kyle.